Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session. I'm Elisabeth de Waele. I'm the moderator of today. And please meet my co-speakers today. So this session will be on the gender equity in ICU. I'm very happy to see you here today. It is a round table, so we will invite you to participate. And we will work with statements where everybody here at the table can have their own opinion, their personal opinion, stated by evidence or by themselves. And you're also invited to add comments, add data, and also look for solutions. I would like to start by pointing here that I am not an expert in the field, so my terminology might not be the best, and my only experience is that I have experience as being a woman in ICU. So this is my credentials. My background is I'm a surgeon and an intensivist, but I'm especially specialized in clinical nutrition. So I have around 100 publications in the field of clinical nutrition, and this is my background. And I would like to pass the word to the next colleague to shortly introduce themselves. I also live in Brussels, Belgium. It can be very valuable if we share our experiences to know what our background and our working environment is. So I work at the University Hospital, Universitair Ziekenhuis Brussel, here in Brussels, Belgium. Please.
Thank you very much. My name is Katarzyna Kotwis. I'm from Poland, from Szczecin, a small city, northwestern part of Poland. My background is that I'm an anesthesiologist and intensivist, so trained in both. And I'm an associate professor at the Pomeranian Medical University. And my expertise in the field is, as Elizabeth, that I am an ICU women consultant. That would be it.
Thank you. Please, Dr. Jeffermans.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nicole Jeffermans. I'm an intensive care physician. I'm practicing in Amsterdam, and I'm a professor of translational intensive care medicine. I am having a research laboratory in which I coach a lot of PhD candidates, and I'm editor-in-chief of the Intensive Care Medicine Experimental.
Thank you.
And also I have a lot of experience being a woman, but not so much from a professional point of view related to gender equity.
My name is Lichtermann. I'm an intensivist in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I work around 25% in research, 75% clinical work, and my experience is the same as my colleagues, just being a woman in ICU work. Well, that will be it.
Okay. I am Marco Ranieri from Italy, past president of the European Society of Intensive Care Medicine, professor of anesthesia and intensive care medicine at the University of Bologna, Italy, and I'm the chair of the Department of Emergency and Intensive Care Medicine at the Sant'Orsola Hospital. I've been involved in clinical research on mechanical ventilation, sepsis, ARDS, and so on in the past years. And the reason why I'm here, I believe, is because I wrote with a number of people an editorial on the issue of gender equality in intensive care medicine on critical care a number of months ago.
Thank you so much for the introduction round. And as you're all speaking, it popped to my mind that I forgot about half of my affiliations to the hospital as an executive member of the Aspen Society, but that's maybe also a female thing that we're trying to downgrade. So thank you for this introduction round. And we will first go to a first statement by one of our colleagues, that we will have a statement, we will discuss openly and freely, because this is the nature of our session. And of course, you were happy to interact. So who would go first for a first statement? Okay, please.
As first statement, I would like to say that when you look for a person who to offer a job, then a person should be hired just based on his or her quality and not based on gender. So, and the same goes around for promoting somebody. It should be based just on quality, not on gender, but both ways around. So no positive discrimination, no negative discrimination, just based on his or her qualities.
Thank you. I think that's a very nice statement because indeed, when you are in a position to be able to choose, then we always have this state of mind and we would really think about it. But the question would also be, is this question about quality more raised when you're facing a female candidate than you are facing a male candidate? I spoke to different people here also on the Congress about panels only having men, for example, and they would go, but we would like to have females, but they need to have high quality of publications and so on. So why is there still this question on, do we question the quality of the output and the work of a female, and do we question it in the same way for a male colleague? So that would be, my first reaction on your statement would be, I like the statement, but I truly want to think about the fact, do we always ask the same question to both? So that maybe somebody can react on.
No.
You're actually, is this on?
I hope so, because they should be recording.
All right. You're actually speaking against use of quota. Is that what that is actually your statement, right? So.
Indirect.
And I am very strongly opposed to that statement. And the reason is, imagine Jean-Louis would go up to a guy and saying, hey, do you want to speak on my Congress? What do you think the guy would say? He'd say, oh yeah, great, I'm coming. Oh, but no, are you asking this only because you want to fill up a quota because there are not many guys? The guy will never think it. He will go to the stage and he will take the stand and he will tell his story to the best of his abilities. So my comment would be, woman, when you are being called to, go to the stand and tell your story and don't ibber about whether it's not your quality. You are qualified. That's my statement.
Well, I like this because, as I said, the only reason I'm here is because I was involved in this article we wrote, and actually Jean-Louis invited me to be involved in this. Now, and because of that article, I took the chance to review the data, but mostly I took the chance to think about it. Now, if we are here, it's because we have a problem. If we wouldn't have a problem, we wouldn't be here. What is the problem? Now, it's not easy to identify and define the problem. So let me try. Roughly 80% of the attending of the residency program in my university are female. The academy, the numbers of female professors at the University of Bologna is 5%, 10%. Chairman position is 2%. I am past president of the European Society of Intensive Care Medicine, founded 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Never be able to elect a woman as a president. You're all highly qualified academic intensivists. Never ever a woman elected as a president. So there is a problem. Is problem in numbers, is problem in selection process. Now, when I try to give a contribution to this article, by chance, and then I will tell you something that's quite personal. By chance, I was looking on TV on a series describing Rita Levy Montalcini story. Now, Rita Levy Montalcini is a Nobel Prize graduate on neurology. She graduated at the University of Turin, where I worked for more than 15 years. And she was Jewish. She had to leave the country because of the 1943 catastrophe. And she moved to the States. And then she had all her career in the States, and she got the Nobel Prize, and then she moved back to Italy. But when she was about to enter medical school in Turin, her father said, but you know that in order to accomplish a medical degree, you have to give up your state of woman, means have a husband, have children, and so on. And she answered, yes, I'm ready to give up all my female identity in order to accomplish this target. And when she moved back to Italy. She was already Nobel Prize graduate. She was older than 70 years. I mean, she said to her students, you know, I had to sacrifice all this part of my life in order to be here. It will take 4 or 5 generations before you can get this level without sacrificing this piece of your life. And I think this is the problem. This is the problem, because in order to get the same results that I got, you have to pay twice the price in terms of your personal life. You and all the women's side of the world. That's, I think, is the problem. Is a quote a solution? I don't know, but let's identify the problem, then discuss the solution then. I think you have to pay a 5 times higher price in order to get the same results that any other male has to pay.
I would like to, may I go ahead?
Yes, of course.
I would also like to strongly oppose what Angelique said by giving you, if I may, a couple of examples that would illustrate why, for the same position, if we were choosing a male and a female, there is always bias that will not allow us to choose correctly. One will be a research. I do research in delirium and pain in the ICU, and my personal experience was that I was applying for a grant, and the response that I received, that in terms of the quality of the application, 100%. The reason for performing the research, 100%. And the feedback was, this person is not a guarantee for success because her H index, they didn't know whether I'm a woman or a man, I hope. The H index is not relevant to the career advancement. And why was it not relevant? Because I had 2 children, 2 maternity leaves, sickness of the children, and so on, and it was just longer. My male counterparts would have had achieved more by the age they requested us to put in the application. That was not taken into the account, and I'm sure this is not just my personal experience, but that has happened previously. The grant applications do not take into account that you actually have extra life apart from your medical career work and your research. And one more opposition to that statement is, what if we reverse the question? What if the female is more qualified than her male counterpart for whatever position, and that is not taken into account for political reasons? And this is something we need to address as well, because we live in different countries, we have different backgrounds, and that the idea in different places that some positions are reserved, let's put it straightly and openly, for men, that is still there. So this is my statement.
Thank you very much. And it's true that culture probably also plays a very important role. I would like to split up your statement on the extra work or the price to pay, because it is double. We have heard here that indeed the quality of your work, we have the experience, because now we're talking experience, that the quality of the work needs to be higher to overcome the other factors, like you just mentioned. And this I have seen several times too, because I'm also a professor at the university. We look at theses. It's not embedded anymore in Belgium or Brussels. I mean, you just don't do that anymore. That's something that we do not do, is discriminate. But you feel that the level of the work is most often higher in the female candidates. the quality of the work, the details, the level of perfection, and so on. So I personally think that you need to work harder in the content of what you do. If it is grant writing or article writing or research work or whatever you do, it needs to be better to be perceived the same. And secondly is the work-life balance. And we will go into that later on, because that is only, I don't think, only a gender issue, but also a generation issue. If I can close the round on the quota, for a very long time, I did think that this was not the way to go. But I am, after now 20 years in the business of medicine, I am more and more convinced that we need the quota. Because the people deciding on this will always be, or for a high standard, will always be the same if we don't implement a quota. And please do not overestimate the power of the quota. It's not because you bring in women that they will be more women-friendly. I mean, been there, done that. So we have to be careful. But what we are trying to get with quota is diversity in your boards, in your congresses, in whatever. You want diversity. And quota on gender is an old story, but the idea behind it is valuable. So I'm evolving more and more to a pro, depending on the quota. So I think that we have to bring it more broader, open it up, but I am, in my professional career, I am not against quota. So I think that we have some different viewpoints here. But thank you for all your contribution. Maybe we can listen to your statement, or if you have another thing that you want to add.
Yeah, I think we defined the problem. I think all of us have stories relating to that it takes women more effort to get to the same point as a male. For me, I wrote over 350 papers. It took 250 papers prior to getting invited to speak on congresses. That's just another example. We can give, I think, about 100 examples, but I would be more into going to why is this the case? And there, I guess, cultural changes or cultural or societal structures differ per culture. But my second statement relates to this, and my statement is that we are the society. And this may sound a bit cryptical, but it's not possible to blame a specific group for the societal structures that are present within the society. So you can't blame males, you can't blame white people, nor black, nor fat people, nor thin. Because we all together are the society. And that means that change has to come from everybody. And I believe very much in role models. What you see is what you find normal. So thereby, being on the stage will gradually increase to normality, that women are there. And this will also change our perception. So my second statement, sorry, Elizabeth, I took some time. And I would really like to engage the audience in this. My second statement is that I would like to make a call for women. So having discussed all this and having discussed that it's important that women are on positions that make the change, so either on congresses or in guideline committees or in whatever, if you are being asked or be active, volunteer to take part in that. I've had discussions with colleagues of mine. They said, well, Nicole, but I don't have time because I have 2 children and la la la. And my answer to that would be, give up some work as a doctor, but be in the spot that makes the difference. And don't go whining that you don't have time. Just organize your time. And I can speak to this. I'm a mother. I'm a single mother of 2. And I've discussed this. So I had a good discussion with my kids who are now teenage. And they say, Mom, you work too much. And I say, well, I can't. With my job, I have to. And for them, they say, but why don't you take 2 people, do the same job? And then for that, it was perfectly logical. So no matter how you arrange it that you find time to fulfill positions in places that matter.
Yeah, thank you for the statement. I was getting enthusiastic because it's true that we can also move from the gender to a more quality of life. And I think that I have some data here somewhere. Of course, we all know that the share of female doctors, so in the MDs, we are largely increasing, and it's all over the world increasing, that more and more female doctors are on the floor. But what I wanted to show to you is, in fact, the next data here. This is the data I would like to show to you. 47% of women and 48% of men wish to pursue a leadership career in a survey that was taken in anesthesiology and intensive care. So this is also a generation issue. We are today, the 1st of September, 2021. This morning was the first day of school for my 3 children. I was here at 8:15. My young PhD colleague, who is working hard to maybe be on a stage of ISICEM, told me yesterday, I'm not gonna come tomorrow because it's the first day of school. And I felt a bad mom because I'm here. But this is what we had to do for 20 years to be here. But he's not doing that. He's not doing that. And I was impressed. I'm like, hell, I wish I was like you. But on the other hand, that just didn't work for us. I don't know if we imagined that we need to be here at 8:15, maybe we don't need to be here, but this is the way that we did it, by working hard, compromising some things in our personal life, organizing, because the worst enemy of a female is the female itself, you know? I want to do my ironing myself. No, I don't want to do your ironing yourself, and somebody else do your ironing. So it's also in you that you have to choose your battles. But this morning, I was very impressed, and I think that if you see that around 50% of both women and men only want to have this career, then it's also a generation thing, a priority in life, and get organized differently so that it doesn't need to be a choice, like you mentioned, between the two of them. We need to find a way to have it in a feasible, nice way to have both possibilities, and that you no longer have to choose where you go on the 1st of September.
There is a critical point of what you are saying, and that in order to accomplish this, a woman needs to be a Wonder Woman, a man needs to be a normal person.
It's a nice one.
And the point is that we need, as a system, to establish a way to avoid the Wonder Woman syndrome. That's what I think. I mean, you were mentioning evaluation of H-index because of the impact of maternity leave on scientific production. I mean, by system, our grant agency for a woman or for a man, because as you said, it's a generation issue, that has a maternity, a parental leave, should be somehow compensated in terms of evaluation of the H-index of the scientific production. And, I mean, for science, for professional positions and so on, we need formal intervention. I mean, to be a Wonder Woman or a nice, how can I say, politically correct man is not enough. We need formal we need politicians sitting here.
And also key people that will change culture. Mademoiselle, please, can we have the mic over to, or Monsieur, yes, to have some reaction? Hello. Somebody. Or,
Come here.
Vous avez un micro pour Monsieur? Oui. I hope we're not that boring.
Hello. First, my statement, I'm a French doctor. I'm not a role model. Today I'm here. My wife is working at home and we have a 2-year-old baby. So I have left for the week. Okay? But what I would say, male today do not have to be normal person. Male today have to be normal male. They don't take their part in the family work. And that's a cultural issue. And as you said, we need to change culture. We need to have politicians. But that's part of the main problem. Women have to be super women because men don't take their part.
Thank you for the contribution, but do you have the feeling that it's changing, or is somebody else in the room willing to give an opinion on what do you feel with younger people? Please, can we have the mic over there? What do we feel? Is the feeling that or the experience that I had this morning, that my young male colleague wanted to be at the school and I just kissed them goodbye at the driveway and my husband took them to school? What is your opinion? Is this changing? On what is this depending, please?
Yeah, so I'm a Brazilian doctor. I'm here in Belgium doing a PhD. And I have to say that thankfully my experience was I had role models. Women, strong women, intensivists, but they always struggled with this question of not being a good enough mother or a good enough wife, even though they were modern, highly qualified intensivists. And what I see is, it's true, but for example, you felt guilty about leaving your children, but you shouldn't. But that's the mindset we have, that the responsibility of the household and the children caring is focused on the woman, and the man helps. In fact, the man doesn't help. They should share responsibility. They're both parents. And so if today you had to be here, it's okay. And I think this is improving slowly, in my generation at least. But I think the sentiment of guilt in women remain. So even though we're seeing a better balance, this is still a problem for women. And I would like to comment briefly on the quota question. I am also pro-quota. In my country, we have quotas not for women, but for other minorities. And I think that it helps because long-term, you need to change mentality for a long-term effect. But if you're going to wait for the long-term effect, you're going to lose generations. And we can't lose generations. So you have to force a change. You have to change politics. So you have to force a change. For example, in this conference, there are very few female lectures. I was looking for, and most the lectures I attended yesterday, both the chair and the speakers were male. And if you take articles, you see there are a lot of female, there are authors and co-authors. So excuse me, why did you choose that colleague that published that article and not the female colleague that published the same article?
Thank you. If I may comment to that, in my preparation of today, I went to the entire program. You know, you can do a lot with paper and a stick. So there are 525 stage appearances on this Congress, ISICEM 21. 111 are done by a woman. So this is a 21% appearance rate. So that's 1 out of 5 of the appearances on stage is by a woman. Now, I don't have the data from other big congresses, for example, to compare. So this is the numbers of today. I think that this should also be stated somewhere. You have your dashboard of the Congress, number of attendees, and so on. Yeah. And personally, I already contacted Jean-Louis Vincent to make this more visible, because this is about visibility. If you take this as a strength, if you post it on your website, if you show the evolution over time, you first of all make a signal that it's important, that it really matters. Secondly, look at the numbers. I mean, we do science. We are very afraid to drive on emotions. We want to see facts, but the facts are there, and we have to keep those facts. So this 21% appearance rate is something that we would like to work on. Also on the visibility, you have the newsletters. Please have some more pictures of these appearances and so on. So there is a package of things that you could do that I already suggested. But I like your comment. I thank you for it. And I think that we will listen to some other statement. And please, from the audience, we have somebody there who likes to contribute. Please.
Hello, thank you. Thinking a bit more about the guilt that people may feel when having to make a decision about attending to their career versus their family, and the role model, and whose job is it to attend to the home. I think when we look at promoting gender equity in intensive care, it's maybe not as productive to focus on the individual choices and individual guilt, and to think more about structural change. So in my experience in the United States, a lot of events, I work in anesthesia, are held at 6:30, 7 in the morning. So if you're going to be seeing children off to school, that will differentially affect women. Networking events are held after work, 6 or 7 p.m. Again, that will differentially affect women. If we were to consolidate those events into a more typical workday, then women wouldn't be forced to make a choice. And there would be more equal opportunity for women to be seen, heard, and then perhaps considered for other positions.
Thank you for your contribution from the States, and I really like your statement, because when you change the structure, nobody will discuss it. Last year, I was the head of intensive care here in Brussels in my hospital during the COVID-19 pandemic. And what was really, really obvious is that we should all work together to get to that crisis. And by all, I mean the medical doctors, the nurses, the physiotherapists, the dietitians, the cleaning people, everybody. So I organized meetings, crisis meetings, with delegations from all of these, because you cannot just have a good idea and then 3 days later discover that it won't work because of something practical that you haven't thought about because it's not your domain. But I can assure you that the first time you bring the cleaning man to the meeting, the doctors are all holding back like, what kind of a circus is this? No, this is a meeting, and we're gonna walk out with solutions to some of the problems, and we have saved 3 or 4 meetings because you don't have to have the other meeting to check and come back to the first meeting. But I can assure you this was a culture shock. And it took several meetings for the attendees to understand why the structure was made that way. It was more efficient, it went faster, we had more decision-making and practical consequences than only concepts. And we needed to have them at those times to be able to act quickly. So this is about, indeed, about structural change. Another thing I would like to mention is that we suggested to have the team meeting, so with the medical doctors, during the working hours, and the fellows would take care of the patients. I got commented because it was a lack of engagement. We worked 70 hours a week. We were there for 60 or 70 hours a week in the hospital. I got a comment from one of my male colleagues that having the meeting not on Friday night, which was his suggestion, we will start Friday at 6. Come on. It was a lack of engagement. That's the culture that we have to change. If you don't want to do your staff meeting on Friday night at 6, that's not a lack of engagement. I think you have another issue then, but so but I truly agree on your structural change. Please, sir.
So I'm a young anesthesiologist. I also have an intensive care diploma, and I work in the same hospital as Elizabeth. And I agree about the cultural problem, because I think, personally, it's not, there's a gender bias, but it's the same problem for me. So it's not accepted in the hospital or in the culture that a male would want to make time for his family or for other non-professional things. So meetings are, like you said, before or after work hours, so that's not practical. And I recently did a fellowship in pediatric anesthesiologist in the Netherlands, and it was absolutely, for me, a culture shock, because meetings and transference of informations were during work hours. Things like everything was during work hours. So, and you knew at 4 o'clock the workday was ending. So in my hospital, this isn't possible.
And do you think the quality was the same? I mean, did
I think
you
the quality was better. The quality was better because people were more interested, more engaged, more awake. They also had time for their other interests, for non-clinical work and things like that. And I think this was not only better for female, but also for the male colleagues. And that I think is a generation or cultural problem, but not necessarily a gender problem. Because I would like to have the same opportunities as well, as you mentioned.
Thank you so much. Please, your reaction. Thank you.
I really appreciate what you just said, that both genders would like to share their activities at home, and I absolutely agree with that. And just a statement that maybe we should help women with their motherhood should actually be help people with their home life, because medicine is so demanding. So I absolutely agree. I would like to comment on what Marco said, that we need politicians here. I don't think we can be more wrong. I think we are the change. Nobody will do it for us. And I strongly believe that networking, and what I have learned is that I was lucky enough to work in a very balanced environment. Whether it was in Poland, I spent 2 years in the UK, all the departments were balanced, nearly to 50% male to female, and I was lucky to receive support from both genders. And this is why I believe I'm here. So what I do now is I move this on. I give this energy to my female colleagues who need it, and I know they need it. This is just one thing is being a role model and doing your research, your job to perfection, but the other thing is the support, and it has to be active support. They won't come to me and say, you know, I'm depressed because I'm at work and I'm doing shifts and I don't have time for my children. I have to be, or we have to be, this is what I've learned, to be proactive. And I go to my residents, to the trainees and say, don't worry about the child and the, daycare. They're just fine. Don't worry about not being at school for the first day of school. This year we won't be there, next year you will be there. This is just fine. Do not feel guilt, just getting back to what you rightly said. I always felt guilty, and my husband always said, stop feeling guilty. They're just fine with me, okay? Which was funny to get that support, because I couldn't hear what he was saying for years. Now that they are 11 and 13, I know, yes, they have grown up and they're just fine. They are no worse people. That's absolutely fine. So I think the support has to be proactive. And when I had a chance to mentor the PhDs, I have selectively chosen my female colleagues who are actually almost my age and never had time to do that. And I said, you know what, I will commit my time to you, but you will do the PhD. I will help you. So I think this is the changes in us. That's how I feel.
Please, there's some comments. Sorry, I didn't see you. Please, comment.
Hi, I'm a resident at Sant'Orsola Hospital in Bologna. And I exposed a poster yesterday, and I saw that in the poster exposures, there were more female than males. So it looks like that in my generation, something is slowly changing. But the question is, when I will be 40 or 50 years old, it will be me or my male colleague that will go on with a career. And the question that what I ask to myself is, if I will have children, I don't have children now, but if I will have children, and will I be obliged to choose? So what Professor Ranieri said and you all said, so will it change this thing, or I will be obliged to choose? Because there is another problem, that a 25-year-old man knows that he has at least 30 years old to become father, whereas a 25-year-old woman knows that she has 10 or 15 years to become mother. So it means that in those 15 years, I need to be, if I want, of course, I have to become mother and at the same time make my career. And this is, I think that a male has not this question, has not these doubts.
Yes, thank you, please. We have some final comments.
Find a mentor, please. Find a mentor. I fully concur with
It's don't choose, get organized would be my advice. You don't have to choose, you need to get organized. the country that you live in, the daycare possibilities are very important because you need those structures. In Holland, Switzerland, Belgium, we all have different environments, and those facilitate it. But it's true that the barriers are there, you have to overcome them, but organization is very important. I think because the lack of time, we will have a final remarks by the people at the table, and please feel free to approach us or to talk later. But please have a final round on on what we heard today, and what would be your recommendation for the people in the audience?
I think it's too complicated. I mean, it's too easy to say get organized, because if you live in a country where you don't have this, I mean, Italy doesn't have the same facilities in terms of childcare that Switzerland has, or Belgium has, or the Netherlands have. There is a cultural model that is family-based, and the driver of the family model is the woman, and this is a fact. And again, I think that we need to introduce formal correction factor, formal supportive tools that is not just a one-to-one. I am her mentor. I have a wife that is an academic intensivist. We have 3 kids. One of them is a disabled kid, but the price that she has to pay for this context is much higher than the price that I pay. And I am home, and they can witness this, more than any of my male colleagues, because I take care of my family and we share by 50%. But that's not enough. Even if I am the model, even if I'm her role model, even if my wife and I share by 50% the family load, that's not enough. The price she is paying is much higher than the price I have to pay. So we need formal intervention in order to establish an equilibrium, in order to have her willing to become an academic intensivist, not associated with the question, but may I become a mother in 2 or 3 years? She should not think about this, but she is thinking because that's the reality. And it's not an individual intervention, it's an institutional intervention that is needed.
Thank you. I think we all agree. Please, Dr. De Man.
Well, first, about these practical issues, I just want to comment that in the past 10 years, I just invented a lot of my salary to get organized. This, it will just take money to get organized as well. So that's good to realize. Another thing I want to comment on is that I think we kind of meant the same with regard to quality. As you say, my age index was not high enough. I think, well, so maybe people should look through that and knowing that your quality was enough or maybe even better, but look through the age index or other measurements and yeah, just see the quality behind all these numbers.
Thank you. Nice statement too. Please, your final comment.
My final comment, if you allow, is speak up for yourself. Just don't be afraid to ask. And it is an advice that I give to all my both male and female colleagues, and I really support the females. Do not stand back. Your quality is absolutely top. You work hard, and I cannot say there's anything wrong with being a superwoman, and I will support this. So don't be afraid to ask. It's just there for you. Just reach for it.
Thank you. Please.
I think one sentence, don't make yourself small.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for sharing. This is the first time I think we had this round table. I will pass the message and also the numbers to the organizing committee of this Congress, and I hope to see us next year, and then we will invite some people who has a true knowledge on the domain, but I was very happy to be here today, and I hope that you have the same feeling. So please enjoy the rest of the Congress, and thank you so much.
I hope to see a woman president of the European Society of Intensive